Right now, in places like Kathmandu, a whole generation is standing at a fork in the road. And this isn't just any generation, it's Gen Z, a group that makes up more than half of Nepal's entire population. The choices they're making, right now, are literally going to shape the country for the next 50 years. So, here's the big question we're asking today. Are we looking at a lost generation, one that's being pushed out of the country by frustration and a lack of opportunity, or are they actually the architects of a brand new digital Nepal, building the future from right where they are? Because, incredibly, both of these stories are happening at the exact same time.
All right, first, let's unpack that first story, the brain drain. We have to understand the powerful forces that are pushing so many young, talented Nepalis to look for a future somewhere else. And for most of them, this isn't just an emotional choice, it's a cold, hard, rational one.
You see, these aren't just separate problems. They all feed into each other. You've got decades of political chaos, which has created a sluggish economy with very few good jobs. On top of that, the 2015 earthquake was a huge national trauma, and for many, it really exposed the government's weaknesses. So, if you're a young person looking at all this, you can see why leaving might feel like the only smart move. And the numbers here, they really tell the story. I mean, just look at this. In a single year, over 771,000 work permits were issued for jobs abroad. That is a record high. It's a massive wave of people heading out, all looking for the economic chances they just don't feel they can get at home. And it's not just about manual labor. This brain drain is happening in academia too. Over the last 10 years, more than 639,000 of these no-objection certificates were given to students to study abroad. Now, while that's officially for education, for many, it's a one-way ticket. They leave to get a degree, but have very little intention of ever coming back to a system they've lost faith in. And when you dig into who these labor migrants are, you find something really important. Almost 3/4 of them are considered unskilled workers. Think about what that means. It's a huge drain of the country's raw, productive power, with people often taking on really difficult, sometimes dangerous jobs overseas.
Okay, but here's where the story takes a fascinating turn. That whole narrative of people leaving, it's only half the picture. At the exact same time, a totally different reality is being built, one that doesn't care about politics or physical borders. It's a story being written with clicks, with code, and with global internet access.
So, this brings us to the other side of the coin, the architects. These are the young Nepalis who are using technology to build incredible opportunities for themselves right from Kathmandu, basically leapfrogging all the physical and political problems we just talked about.
And don't think this is just some small garage startup scene. We're talking about an IT export sector that's already worth over $500 million US. That is real economic muscle, and it's being built by this new wave of tech talent.
What's really incredible, though, is how fast this is all happening. The sector grew by over 64% in just 1 year. And who's driving it? Over 100 tech companies and thousands of young freelancers, most of them between 20 and 29 years old. This has given rise to a whole new idea, something people are calling digital migration. The concept is simple. You stay put in Nepal, but you work for a company in, say, London or San Francisco. You earn a global-level salary, and you spend it right there in the local economy. You see, this isn't brain drain at all. It's effectively brain game. It pulls foreign money into the country without any of the social costs of having people actually leave. So let's just put these two paths side by side. Because the difference is, well, it's night and day. The old route of working abroad costs a lot of money up front for a relatively low salary. But this new IT path, it costs almost nothing to get started, and the salaries are exponentially higher. And look at the national impact. One path brings in remittances, sure, but the other one creates high-value service exports for the entire country.
So you see, this isn't just about money. It's not just about jobs. This digital revolution is actually rewiring the entire mindset, the values, and the expectations of a whole generation.
So if you're a company trying to hire in Nepal, you've got to understand this. Gen Z isn't motivated by the old-school, top-down workplace. They want flexibility. They want work that has a purpose. They expect transparency. It's not just about the paycheck anymore. It's about growing and making an impact. And frankly, companies that don't get this are going to have a really hard time finding and keeping the best people. And this digital-first mindset, it's spilling over into politics. Movements like #EnoughIsEnough are perfect examples of how this generation uses social media to organize, turning online anger into real-world protests that hold the government's feet to the fire. They're creating their own channels of power, completely bypassing the old gatekeepers.
And of course, this changes everything for brands too. As consumers, they're just as disruptive. Their buying decisions are driven by influencers on TikTok and Instagram, not old-fashioned ads. Digital payments are just exploding. But here's the key. They demand authenticity and social responsibility, and they will absolutely put a brand on blast online if it doesn't live up to their values. Okay, so let's bring it all together. We have these two huge competing forces shaping Nepal's future. It's a story of being pushed out and pulled in at the same time. And this tension, this duality, presents a huge choice for the nation and a really unique opportunity for investors.
When you boil it all down, this is the story of Nepal's Gen Z. They're living in a paradox. On one hand, there's the frustrating physical world that makes them want to leave. And on the other, there's this vibrant, exciting digital world that gives them every reason to stay. The tension between those two is what defines them. So here's the final takeaway, the bottom line. The real story of Nepal's future, the one that's pointing the way forward, probably isn't found in the departure lounges at the airport. It's being written right now, in lines of code, in the business plans of new startups, and in the hashtags of young activists. The real question for Nepal, and for any investor watching, is which one of these realities is going to define the future?